All right, take it away.
Good morning, everyone. Welcoming you to the Illinois Forensic Science Commission meeting. It is Wednesday, June 10th at 10:01 a.m. We're going to start with a roll call of commission members. I am Director Dragovich of the DuPage County Forensic Science Center.
So show you as present, I'm gonna call the roll. Director Kelly is not present. Deputy Director Woolery.
I'm present.
I'm here, Executive Director Amy Wetruba. Dr. Rukmar.
Present.
Ms. Baker.
Present.
Mr. Buford.
Present.
Ms. Drummond.
Present.
Judge Hill.
Present.
Ms. Hughes she may be able to join later via phone. She's traveling to a conference, but she's currently not present. Dr. Hughes.
Present.
Ms. Ryhill.
Present.
Ms. Tucker.
Present.
Mr. St. Andre.
Present.
And Ms. Ward.
Present.
Great, you have a quorum. Oh, wait, let me do the public. So I see Gina Havlick, Kevin McMahon, Lindsay Simpson, Maya Dukmasova, Amanda Shanbon, Timothy Tripp, and then someone with the first name Sarah. Sarah, could you please either verbally state your last name or type it in the chat, please?
It's where.
Oh, hi, Sarah. Okay.
Hi.
Okay, great. You are all set.
All right, I'd just like to welcome everyone to this morning's meeting. If you are dialing in, you can see we have some new technology where I think you should be able to see the meeting room on the screen. So we'll see how that works today and if it makes it easier for you all who are participating electronically. And we're going to move into our next agenda item, which is review and adoption of minutes. Does anyone have any questions or comments about the minutes from the meeting on March 11th? Hearing none, can I get a motion to accept those?
Carrie Ward, I move to accept the minutes as presented.
Art Hill, I move to second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Can we please get our executive director summary update?
Yes, one moment, I will share my screen. Okay, everyone should be able to see that. Okay, so also welcome everyone. Thank you for joining us. Let me get started here with our general topics. First, I wanted to give you an update on the status of having the meeting in September at the Forensic Science Center at Chicago. Their auditorium renovations are complete, so we will be able to have our September 9th meeting there. I've provided the address. I'll change the public notice on the website, and I will notify the U of I here that they won't need to host us in September, but we always appreciate them hosting us. And hopefully, again, we have some new tech in that room too, so we'll get to see how that works as far as video and audio and lots of screens everywhere. So looking forward to that. Always like to, it's a mid-year point, it's the summer. If you want to get ahead of your annual OneNet training and avoid the end of the year emails from me, you should be able to access those modules. Also a reminder always for the June meeting, if you plan to submit travel expenses for today's meeting, please do so very quickly because the fiscal year ends on June 30th, so they need to be processed. I did send an email giving you a new point of contact for those, the individual at ISP who used to handle your travel expenses has retired. So I would also expect maybe since this is the first time that the new person will be processing them, it may take a little bit longer. There may be some back and forth, so you may want to build some time in for that. If you need that contact information or have any questions or want to CC me on those, you can feel free to do so. I don't handle that type of paperwork, but I can certainly assist if there's things that are missing or anything like that. an update on the LinkedIn account. So I'm hoping that we will have it up by the end of the summer / next meeting. There are a couple of things that I still tell you why I'm taking my time with this. I really don't want to open the account and then have it just sitting with nothing going on for a while. So I've learned that this is a complex process in addition to figuring out the LinkedIn side of the house, the ISP side of the house. I'm also setting it up in such a way, or plan to set it up in such a way for legacy purposes. So I will likely be including, in addition to the legacy email account, my email account, probably someone at ISP. I'll probably also be doing a current chairperson and possibly vice chairperson as basically admins who can access it. So if something were to happen and one of those email accounts were to be closed, that, we wouldn't have basically a locked account. There also, as far as creating content, I will gladly be the first to admit that I am not tech savvy on social media. So I am learning that there are certain programs and things that you can use to create content. So I'm playing around with those. I'm also figuring out which ones I can and cannot use within my agency. And then this week, actually, there were some new directives within my agency related to internet and social media. So I also have to do a final check with those to make sure what I have planned is compliant with those. I'm hoping that the timing will actually work out well because National Forensic Science Week is the 3rd week in September. So if we have it up prior to that, then I'm hoping to have a plan in advance for maybe some content to put out during National Forensic Science Week, not just obviously celebrating our forensic scientists, but blasting out information about the commission and things like that. Then the next thing is, as you know, this will be the first year that we do an annual report. I've been kind of building a framework of thoughts of what might go into it. Again, feel free to reach out to me if you have any thoughts or suggestions, and just be aware that I may start reaching out to you in the coming months as I build it, for, thoughts on initial content before I go too far down one path, specifically, most likely with the subcommittees, to make sure that we're all kind of on the same page. Next one. So legal and legislative update. There's one case that I'm tracking. I put the citation up there, People versus Bell. It was not a traditional, what I'd call forensic science case. It actually dealt with a data extraction from a cell phone and the confrontation clause, which many of you know is an issue near and dear to my heart. But in the analysis, the court, in determining whether or not there was a confrontation clause violation, the court discussed and kind of compared the digital examiner, the person who did the data retrieval and then who testified, compared it to a forensic scientist report in discussing testimonial hearsay and what is required. And what I thought was especially noteworthy is that the court focused on the fact that the defendant failed to identify any specific testimonial hearsay statement that the state offered into evidence or that was present in the report, and as such failed to establish a confrontation clause violation. The court said that basically just saying that there's a forensic report is not enough. I checked, this has not, I assume there will be a PLA to the Illinois Supreme Court. It was not on the May list. I'm guessing it'll be on the September list. So I'll keep an eye out to see if perhaps the Illinois Supreme Court, if the defendant appeals from this, if they take it up. It's an interesting topic. So that's the only case that really jumped out in this period of time. And then legislation is actually an agenda item since it's the end of the session. So I'm going to pump that to the discussion portion of the meeting. Education and outreach. I'd start with the fun one. I was a guest speaker at a forensic science class for seniors at a high school with 13 days of school left to go on a Friday afternoon last period. Which I didn't know till I got there. But actually it went well. I was told afterwards, I was a little dismayed that they were all sitting quietly and just staring at me for most of the time. But then the teachers afterwards told me that that's actually a sign that they were listening, because they weren't on their phones or zoning out. And I did get some interesting questions. So they were very excited about the videos. I did share information about the fundamentals of forensic science videos, both the students and the teacher were very interested in those videos. So just wanted to share that one. It was kind of a fun one. I spoke and attended the Illinois division of the IAI's conference in April. I presented about the commission. It was I think, we had actually good discussion both before and after my presentation, but I think it was pretty well received. And in fact, after the presentation, someone from Indiana invited me to come to the Indiana meeting in October. So I am going to go to that. Indiana does not have a commission, but they're interested in hearing about ours because, there are certain other state commissions that are pretty well known, but our model of commission is not as well known. So they were all very interested in hearing about how we do things. And it's nice that it's it's a neighboring state. So I was able to check my schedule and I will be able to do that. And apparently it's being held where Bobby Knight is from. Yeah, right? Was he the Boston Celtic?
Yeah, no, that's
Not Bobby,
Larry
Knight.
Bird.
Bobby Knight, the Indiana basketball, right? Okay, I was close.
That's Larry Bird.
I was Larry Bird. It's apparently in Larry Bird's hometown. So I guess I can visit his high school if I'm told. And then just also a reminder, the NAFSB conference will be in Milwaukee. They've been populating more information on the website about it. I think registration, there's a link up, but I don't think it's working yet. And I don't think they've posted agenda items. I'll keep you posted. I'll send emails when it goes up. But stay tuned for that in case anyone wants to go to it. It will include a tour of their new lab facility and I think possibly the medical examiner's facility, which is on the same campus. And that, I think, let me double check my list, is all I have. So then we're subcommittee reports. I'm going to stop sharing.
So can I ask a quick question? Just curious about what kinds of questions the high school kids were asking you.
So most of the questions didn't relate to the commission. They related to my previous job. So it was a lot of questions about that you'd expect from high school kids, such as, what was the boriest case you've ever seen type of thing.
Gotcha.
So, and obviously I gave age appropriate and content appropriate answers. But what I thought was nice is we did have a dialogue about different possible careers, that if you're interested in forensic science, there's lots of options, and I was a prime example. I'm not a scientist, I'm a lawyer, but I am, forensic science adjacent, different paths. If you're interested in becoming a sworn police officer, how you might be able to do forensic science related work as a sworn officer or as CSI, the different types of forensic disciplines. And I always like to give them the heads up about, if you think you want to go into being a bench analyst, make sure that you're taking the right classes in undergrad. I told them to check, for example, ISP's website for postings and see what the class requirements are, because in my experience, at least, I've heard that sometimes, college students will think that they're on a course of study that will allow them to go right into becoming, a forensic analyst. And they're dismayed to find out in their junior year that, a criminology major along with like a psychology major or maybe I don't want to use soft science, but a particular science may not have the prereqs that they need to go into a training program. So
Interesting.
we don't know why that's not. Spring hasn't cleared, but.
Okay, well, moving on to subcommittee reports. First, we have quality systems. I'm the chair for that. We met 3 times to even finalize our draft of our annual report regarding significant nonconformities for 2025. You were all prior to the meeting provided the copies, so opening the floor for any discussions or questions about that report.
That's also separate.
It is.
Voting items.
Oh, I got ahead of myself, apologies. So we worked on the report and we'll take your questions later in the meeting. But that has been the biggest extent of the work that we have been performing in our last few meetings. Moving on, can we get the update from Karen for training and career development, please?
Morning, everyone. The Training and Career Development Subcommittee has met twice since our last meeting. We continue to work on the fundamentals of the forensic science video series The three disciplines that we have remaining are toxicology, DNA, and trace. These sections are still in the content development phase and may be ready for the commission to view them at our next meeting in September. Executive Director Retroba and the committee has been tracking the number of views for our posted videos, and the current numbers are latent prints has had 234 views, drug chemistry has had 217 views, and firearms has had 194 views. As well as tracking the viewings, we are continually discussing strategies for marketing these videos. They are public videos that are posted on our website right now and can be utilized by any of our stakeholders and the public. The subcommittee has begun discussing a training and content creation on the topic of ethics, and this is in the early stages, but we do have a group working on that. And then the subcommittee has also been begun discussing future projects that we want to see out of this committee. We're talking about using the commission as a convener for our stakeholders and hosting a speaker series or panel discussions in the future that would be more centered around continuing education for our forensic scientists. And
Thank
that's,
you, Jay.
thank you.
Can we get an update, Katie Drummond, on public policy?
Sure. The Public Policy Subcommittee met twice since the last commission meeting to discuss the CODIS Modernization Act. Excuse me. This pending federal legislation proposes expanded access to CODIS, specifically by allowing private laboratories the ability to directly upload DNA profiles to CODIS at the national level. The subcommittee also reviewed and discussed position statements from national forensic organizations on the general topic of private lab access to CODIS and the CODIS Modernization Act. It's our intention for the subcommittee to continue monitoring these developments related to the act and to keep discussing the DNA databasing at upcoming meetings. The position statements we reviewed were from the Consortium of Forensic Science Organizations and the American Society of Crime Laboratory Directors. And that's it.
Thank you. Thank you, Katie. Moving on, technology, Jeff?
Yes, good morning. Last month, the Technology Subcommittee met and we discussed a new topic. We delved into quality management systems, or known as QMS, including a more popular one that many forensic sites use is IdeaGen QualTracs. We had subject matter experts, Director Renee Ho from New York and Laboratory Director Samantha Webb from ISP, who were subject matter experts in the use of these applications. They gave us an overview and the features of the uses of these systems for quality matters. Members of our quality subcommittee also attended, which was very helpful. Some quick highlights, what we discussed. We delved into quality document control. We delved into intuitive workflows using this quality system. We did informative dashboards, which were available through these systems of quality records and updates for matters such as quality system broad range activities such as calibrations, when things were due, even when various matters concerning accreditations were due. And finally, how these particular applications within these systems allow systems to meet regulatory requirements, including accreditations and key success factors in these applications. I do believe we're going to delve into this topic again because it's pretty broad. What we want to do now is look at really the meeting regulatory requirements and key success factors in applications, since this is a common theme across all of our operations in forensics. So that will be our next step in delving into discussing QMS systems. Thank you.
Great, thank you, Jeff. Big, Dr. Hughes?
We met twice in both April and May. And we are continuing to work on the FAQ documents. We have identified some subject matter experts to review it when we're done. And we also have some, in-state stakeholders that we want to share those documents with, when we get them drafted. And I think we're close enough where we can say that at the next full commission meeting, we would have, documents for everybody to look.
That's good. Drugs, Jill?
Good morning, everyone. We have met 3 times since our last meeting. We are working towards putting together the quarterly report that was voted on last commission meeting. So we're compiling the data and determining the best way to report that out. We're also preparing for the next legislative cycle. We realize it's a little too late to do anything this year. So we are reviewing the Illinois Controlled Substance Act against the Federal Register to identify where there are any differences. We're also then reviewing the language for some Quadam bills that were put out last year and discussing how best to provide guidance to legislators on those bills. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Moving on, issues for discussion. First item is discussion and possible action on the Quality Systems Subcommittee's annual report of significant nonconformities to 2025. At this time, I welcome discussion and questions. Okay, hearing no discussion or question, we can go to a vote.
We're gonna do public,
Oh, you have to open up. the
yeah,
public-
so
yeah.
before,
Thank
so
you.
first of all, I just want to thank the Quality Systems Subcommittee for their work as always, putting together this annual report. It's a long process, and to thank the labs for participating and providing the, information and being transparent and engaging in this. So before we go to a vote on approving the, draft document, which I'm also gonna suggest that when someone makes a motion, since I will have to add things like the dates and take off the water seal and all that kind of, or the watermark, if you could move to accept it with, you know, the addition of non-substantive changes or something along those lines, so that I have the ability to do it anyway, but just for clarity. So if anyone in the public would like to offer comment on the topic of the 2025 significant nonconformity report, would you please indicate in the chat or raise your hands? I am seeing none, so go ahead with a motion.
This is Art Hill. I move that the commission accept, the Quality Systems Subcommittee's annual report for significant nonconformities, subject to any non-substantive changes that might be necessary for, going forward.
Jeff Buford, second.
Okay, I will go down the roll. Chairperson Dragovich.
Yes.
Vice Chair, Mr. Beaver.
Yes.
Deputy Director Woolery.
Yes.
Dr. Rumar.
Yes.
Ms. Baker.
Yes.
Ms. Drummond.
Yes.
Judge Hill.
Yes.
Dr. Hughes.
Yes.
Ms. Rydell. Yes. Mr. St. Andre.
Yes.
Ms. Tucker.
Yes.
Ms. Ward.
Yes.
And I'm showing Ms. who's still not present, so I will mark her absent. Motion passes. That will be available on the commission's website. It usually takes them a few days to get it up.
Okay, the next item is discussion and possible action on the revised commission bylaws. You all received a copy.
And I do have content to share.
Great, we hand it over to Amy to walk us through these revisions.
So, I review the bylaws pretty routinely, just regularly, or if something pops into my mind, I'll check the bylaws. So the suggested amendments are partly, a reaction to that, and then I'll also explain some of the other issues that, that drove my recommendation that you make some changes at this time. So the first was, in just going through it, adding subcommittees to section 5, even though it's pretty clear that they apply to subcommittees. Section 15, so as you know, prior to Mr. Hanlon leaving the commission, the commission always had basically 14 slots. But when Mr. Hanlon left and looking at the statute, I realized that the position for community representative is one or more community representatives. So it's not, it doesn't require a specific number. And the way that the bylaws were worded before were specifically 14 members. So it accounted for the original composition of the commission. There's also other positions on the commission, for example, lab directors or administrators. If there's another accredited laboratory that opens in Illinois, then that number would increase. So I felt it best to then change the section on quorum to just say that the commission is comprised of members as required by the act, and then a majority of the total membership was what would constitute your quorum. And that way you have the flexibility given any changes over time. So that's the first suggestion. The second is because, I always want more power. The first is really just, even though we've talked about the social media accounts and the legacy email address has been around for a while, given the fact that to open the account with LinkedIn, I'm going to have to certify that I have the authority and I am authorized to do it. I figured why not throw it in the bylaws, just an additional level of coverage for me and anyone who may come after me. So that's where that suggestion came from. And then also I thought for legacy purposes that we put in the annual report starting next year again, so that it's part of the bylaws. Anyone who follows me knows that this is part of their annual requirements or duties, I should say. And any commission members too realize that this is going to be a thing. The next set of suggestions are in response to at one of the subcommittee meetings over the last few months, we had a member of the public share explicit material during the meeting. We were able to block the material. It kept coming back, terminated the meeting. After that, obviously, that triggered me making various notifications, including to IT. I have consulted with IT. I've obviously been cooperating on the ISP side of the house. I don't know if it was a real human or AI. I can't say either way. Either way, it doesn't matter. So I've since had a lot of conversations with IT. This is unfortunately a pretty common thing, and not only in public meetings in general, court calls, as we all know, we've probably seen on the news and others have experienced. But I've gone through extensive meetings with them that we've come up with some tools that we can, or strategies that we can use going forward, just to, minimize the chance of this happening again, which includes making, for example, Ms. Dragovich and Ms. Woolery right now co-hosts of the meeting, because sometimes it's hard to be doing 4 things on the screen at once. I'll be doing the same thing for subcommittees. If you are an employee of ISP, I'll be able to make you a co-host from the beginning. If you're not, I'll do it once you come into the meeting. And that way people have the ability, I'm just naming a few things that we'll have in place. In the meantime, I wanted to look at the bylaws just to make it very clear that, whoever's running the meeting. So again, I inserted myself in there because I wasn't there before. The executive director has the right to stop objectionable or abusive or disruptive behavior on electronic platforms, including what had happened in this particular case. In retrospect, could have been a clue, is someone not identifying themselves, like verbally confirming with the name given that they were a human. Obviously, our meetings are open to the public, but we can take reasonable steps to, to ensure that doesn't happen. So I just tried to come up with some language that would help in that respect. I think it's just the one slide there. Yeah. So, yes. So those are the suggestions I have made for current amendments to the bylaws. Does anyone have any questions? Okay, because this is going to be a roll call vote, I'm going to open it up to the public. If anyone has any, wants to offer public comment, and Claire, I'm going to have you watch because I'm having issues with my screen while I figure out how to stop sharing.
If any members of the public have any comments, if you can raise your hand or type in the chat pod. There we go. I see nothing in the chat pod and no raised hands. Oh, wait, Ms.
Mr. McMahon.
Mr. McMahon.
Yeah, Sorry, I had a question about these ethics. When are these meetings related to ethics in the training and development section? And is it every meeting or what? And I guess I didn't get that much detail on what was going on with that.
So that's not the topic of the current vote. Could you repose your question during the public participation?
Sure, sorry.
No, that's okay, not a problem, just from a procedural standpoint, not a problem
Sorry.
at all. Any questions about the bylaws or comments about the bylaws?
Okay, seeing and reading none, can we proceed with the roll call vote, please?
We need a motion first.
Okay.
This is Jill Baker. I make a motion to approve the changes to the bylaws.
Carrie Ward, second.
Okay, we'll go through roll call. Mr. Agovich,
Yes.
Mr. Buford,
Yes.
Ms. Woolery,
Yes.
Dr. Rukumar,
Yes.
Ms. Baker,
Yes.
Ms. Drummond,
Yes.
Judge Hill,
Yes.
Dr. Hughes,
Yes.
Ms. Ryhill,
Yes.
Mr. St. Andre,
Yes.
Ms. Tucker,
Yes.
Ms. Ward.
Yes.
Okay, Ms. Hughes is also still not here, so she will be absent. Thank you very much. Motion passes.
Okay, our third issue for discussion is the 104th General Assembly legislation and the 105th General Assembly legislative initiatives, and we're going to turn it over to Amy.
And I'm going to share my screen again. Okay, so, just for timeline purposes, and Carrie, please by all means, jump in, because you are the legislation expert as I go through this. So we are in the 104th General Assembly. Their spring session ended technically May 31st, but really in the wee hours of the morning on June 1st. And they, unless they schedule a special session, which I doubt they would do for anything relevant to the commission, probably only the Chicago Bears. The next session will be the fall veto session, which is currently scheduled from November 17th to the 19th and December 1 through 3rd, 1st through 3rd. Traditionally, fall veto session is very focused. Again, based on the status of the legislation, which I'll get into a second, that we were tracking this session, I wouldn't anticipate that any of those bills would be the subject of a fall veto session. We will have a new General Assembly that will be sworn in. I think constitutionally it's the second Wednesday of the month, which is January 13th. And this will begin the 105th General Assembly, which means all the bills start all over again, is the easiest way to say it, right? So the 10,000 bills that currently exist will go away, and then we will start this all over again. So with that in mind, I put this as a discussion item, both to review what happened this session. Now, keep in mind, it just ended, so I'm going to give you the best update that I have. I haven't done a full side-by-side yet with Captain Thompson because he is, you know, as you can imagine, putting everything together still. If there are any developments, or if after he's able to meet with me to go through everything, I will let you guys know if there's something that needs to be reported between now and then. So kind of what Ms. Baker was saying earlier, this would be a good time to think about what we might want to work on for next session, either ideas of what we might want to address or what we might want to look at, and or if we want to consider drafting anything in preparation for the next session. So that's kind of the overview. So I'll start first with the Senate bill that had to do with this commission, the one you discussed at your last meeting, that would have added, I think I included it here, originally as introduced, would have added the complaint mechanism or the reporting of complaints to the commission, just information about those complaints within 30 days, and then adding that provision to the annual significant nonconformity report. I did, after the March meeting, reach out to the staff from the introducing senator's office, explained the conversation you had at the last commission meeting, including the suggestion that the 30 days be amended to 60, the rationale behind that. And they took your suggestion, and you'll see there, I think it's on March 23rd, they did file an amendment, with striking the 30 and changing it to 60. It then danced around some committees and, but essentially the bill died in committee. So it did not move forward this session. So that might be one that we think about, possibly working with the senator's office to reintroduce, and if the senator is still part of the General Assembly, if not someone else, for the next session. The other kind of big bills, I would say ones you've discussed as agenda items. So the procurement bill, there was the one that we discussed, that ended up, I'll get into this process later, which I was loosely familiar with, but didn't realize how often it happened. What once was a procurement bill turned into a bill on a totally another topic later on. But there was a companion bill, and that was Senate bill, or, that might be House bill. I may have made the mistake there. So I think one was a House, one was a Senate. So that's my typo there. And it was essentially the same. And that one did have a hearing shortly after your last meeting. So, and they did hear testimony. I believe Deputy Director Woolery may have testified. So I did enter a witness slip on behalf of the commission on that bill, but then that one ultimately died in committee as well. I'm not sure if possibly any procurement popped up in some other bill. I will confirm that with Captain Thompson when I kind of do the session roundup with him. The other one is Senate Bill 1889, which I think this is the third year maybe that this has been floating out there. That once again died in committee. That was the suggested changes to the DUI cannabis statute. What did move, of the bills that we were tracking, House Bill 5580, and here I cut and pasted the summary from the Illinois General Assembly website. This passed both houses. Obviously, if it's going to become a law, it still would have to be signed, but this basically provides that, CODIS associations have to be reported to the investigating agency through, LIMS, through ISP's LIMS, and notification to the state's attorney's offices. I believe this already takes place, but it's now, if it's signed into law, it will be codified. And I included the statute where it will appear. The next one, and this is where I learned for real how this is a thing, and what started as a bill for mental health rehabilitation with House Floor Amendment 3 became a bill that proposes amendments to the Illinois Controlled Substances Act. Kind of along the lines of what Ms. Baker was talking about, it deals with the issue of what happens if a substance is federally controlled, but is not yet controlled under the Illinois Controlled Substances Act. So there is already, my understanding, and I'm learning a lot with the drug subcommittee. My learning curve is steep when it comes to drug chemistry, admittedly, but I'm trying. So there is already kind of I think a mechanism or a system in place for there to be more concordance between the two. This, I think, is perhaps an improvement on that, or maybe a slight modification of it. Again, this is just a summary. You'd have to look at the actual bill, which is Senate Bill 3322. But this did pass both houses. And as I'll keep tracking it. If something's signed, I will give you guys a blast letting you know. Not to be confused, this is not a typo. That was 3322. This is 3222. This started out as a video streaming AD volume bill. I don't know what that is. But on the last day of the session, May 31st, House Floor Amendment 2 turned it into the Illinois Hemp Act. And then a lot of stuff, as you can, I just cut and paste kind of the portions from the website. A lot of things happened on that day. A lot of procedural things that I cannot begin to understand. But this was one of the bills that after the wee hours of the morning on June 1st did pass both houses. It is 644 pages long. This is the summary. I underlined the quick things that jumped out to me that might have implications for criminal justice, drug testing laboratories. Again, this will not be law until signed into law. So while it's good to know about it and start preparing for it, it is 644 pages long. So just know that it's out there, and what your agencies might start looking at it to see what's going to happen. I don't know if this might be the type of bill that would possibly be, can you do trailer bills in veto session?
You can,
You
but
can?
it just depends on if they get taken up.
Got it, okay. So given, I mean, just a guess, but given the size of this act and given the fact that it was one that, based on everything I can tell, I don't know if it existed as another bill someplace else originally. I feel like we would have heard about it if it did, but anything's possible. You know, at least from my personal experience, when the Safety Act passed, you know, there were, I think, immediately some discussions of trailer bills. That was a very long act. This is a very long act that seems to impact a lot of different things related to cannabis and hemp, taxing, criminal justice, all the things. So, perhaps this will be discussed before the veto session. Perhaps there will be a trailer bill. But I'll keep you posted on it. So it wasn't just the Bears on the 31st and June 1st. Everything else is available. Let me stop sharing. So everything else I'm, in the legislative tracking chart, which is available. I don't know why I just lost the screen there. Let's see. You can still see me, right?
I can still see the video, I can't see your screen. You still have power?
Yes, we can still see you.
You can still see us? Okay, for some reason our screen here is not showing. Okay. Okay, that's fine. It's something with the screen. When I move between the PowerPoint, it does something weird. So the updated legislative tracking chart, I didn't want to go through all the bills we were looking at, is available in your shared space, full commission under general, 2026 legislation tracking. I will keep checking to see if anything gets signed and I will update it. There's always an updated date at the bottom. So you can check that, but basically everything else that we were tracking in some way, shape or form died in committee. With that being said, I know we're talking about language for Kratom, to work on over the summer and into the fall. The thought being, you know, the legislator set policy, but correct me if I'm wrong, there seems to be ways that perhaps we can help them in how they discuss the science and discuss the substances at issue, that perhaps the commission could be helpful to them. That should they, as a policy decision, decide to pass new legislation related to Kratom, the thought being we could maybe provide them with the correct, I don't want to say correct, but with language that is better than what they've possibly pulled from another state statute or gotten from someplace else, that would allow the testing laboratories to be able to work within the act. So that's been, I know I'm being a little general here, but like that, when this has popped up, I was like, wow, this is something that this commission was designed to do. You legislature as a policy decision are considering passing legislation about Kratom. Additionally, there's already some legislation that exists. You've written it in such a way that could have some implications on laboratories, that you may not realize.
Yeah.
And why not let the commission and the scientists weigh in on how you could rephrase that section to make it workable? So that's kind of I think an exciting opportunity for you as a commission. But then it also gets the wheels turning on what else out there could you do things on possibly next session?
Within the Seize Drugs community, we are aware, with a national perspective, of issues with prior Kratom language that has been developed. And I'm very excited and pleased to hear that the drug subcommittee is going to look at this and try and at least create some kind of educational document that can be understood, hopefully, at a legislator's level, to make sure that law isn't created that is impossible to fulfill in the
Correct.
laboratory.
Yes.
And that's our goal, right? We want to be able to answer questions for legal questions. Is this controlled? Is it not? And the drug subcommittee certainly wants to make sure that we are able to perform the testing that would be able to determine the answer to that question. So thank you.
Does anyone have any other, public policy has been focusing on that federal legislation related to CODIS. They will continue to monitor. I believe that Ms. Rydell actually joined the public policy subcommittee. And so we have her on there now while we look at some DNA related issues. So I think perhaps they'll be looking at issues related to DNA in the coming months. If you have any other ideas or if there's other statutes out there that you, or topics that you might want to think about going forward, you can discuss them today or, you know, reach out to me and I can put them, we can bring them up at public policy with an eye toward, you know, larger discussions in September. Anything?
All right, moving on, issues for discussion. We're going to do an update and discussion on the THC testing at the UIC Analytical Forensic Testing Lab. Amy, do we have any updates?
So I'll start with, the update on the response that you approved to the UIC report at your last meeting. That did go up on the website. I believe it was the same day. I can't remember exactly. Same day. It was also sent to the laboratory, to the individuals I indicated I would send it to. We have not received any type of response from UIC. I will say that after you issued, as you're aware, after you issued your response or document, there was media coverage, continued media coverage about AFDL and about the commission's action. And in that media coverage, UIC apparently did give a comment to the media network about the commission statement. I didn't want to try to summarize or say it verbatim, but it acknowledged that they've received it. So I think it was something along the lines of they're reviewing it. So we know that they got it. There's no question of that. But they have not done, I don't know if they've done anything, but they haven't communicated to us about that at all. So what Quality Systems has also kind of started talking about, and this brings us back to your first meetings of talking about the AFDL lab situation. Now that you've written that first response to the UIC report, the logical next question is what comes next for the commission? What next action might you take? And the Quality Systems Subcommittee had discussed this in early days of, because AFDL did report nonconformities in 2024, that one next step would be to issue to draft an amended or supplement, I should say supplemental, 2024 significant nonconformity report that could encompass events that have happened since then or actions that have or have not occurred. Because under your statute, and I'm going to pull it up so that I quote it directly. You specifically, under your statute, subsection B4, are tasked with review significant nonconformities with the sound practice of forensic science documented by each publicly funded ISO 17025 accredited forensic laboratory and offer recommendations for the correction thereof. I also think that action could fall under several of your other duties and purposes, but that one is specific. So that was brought up at Quality and thought that the whole commission should talk about it.
I'll just start off by just mentioning that, and this issue is so impactful and so important. I think it's important for us as a commission to be sure that the record is clear, even going back to our 2024 report, to be sure that, especially public facing, that just be sure that it's clear that we're focused on this, that we want to ensure transparency and thereby, I think, underscoring public trust in the forensic science community. So I just think it's an important thing to consider.
Yes, and if you go this route, obviously the original report would always exist and, be archived on the website, it would be there. So this would be supplemental.
Correct.
Whatever form it takes, however you decide to do it. That would be, so there would be the historical document and then any supplemental documents, updated documents.
So would the supplemental document just be an update to say there were no amended reports issued to the stakeholders.
I think that would be up to you guys to work out in the quality systems subcommittee. You're also allowed to make recommendations. So relate for the correction thereof. So, you know, there were two significant nonconformities reported, within their report. That is clear. Both of those nonconformities are also discussed in the UIC investigative report. So you would have the benefit of that additional information, which, if you'll recall, when you were issuing that initial report, the UIC report had just come out and you decided we're not gonna hold this because of this new information. So you have the benefit of that information. You would also have the benefit at the very least of other public information related to, what actions may or may not have been taken. And any recommendations that you feel you could make based on the information that you have. And obviously we can phrase it in a way to make it clear, as you did with the UIC report, exactly what you're responding to and what you're doing, what the scope is, so that it's not misunderstood.
Sure.
But, I will say that, as you're well aware, there has been additional media coverage since your, response about the fact that in another county, a case has been dismissed. A pending case that had not yet gone to trial, where the original testing had been done by AFDL. And, in addition to the lab side of the house, corrective actions also are the mechanism of communicating with the criminal justice system about something that happened in the lab. And that's an important component of corrective act, depending on what the underlying issue is, that can be an important component. So I would throw that out there.
Well, I think that the quality systems meeting, we could certainly re-review that report, review the statement that we made about the UIC TAP report, and see if there's additional information that we want to document, or to tie it into that original review of significant conformity report. So it's tied in with the original observations that we had. You all are invited anytime you want to come to the quality systems subcommittee with a place to be. It's good, really good, robust conversation. You'd rather join us there to discuss.
Yeah, and today, by bringing it before the commission, again, this doesn't require a vote. It was kind of just, making sure that the full commission is on board with the general direction. If that, moving forward that is a next step. Doesn't mean it's the only next step, but as a logical next step before the quality systems subcommittee dives back in to touch base with the full commission.
Yeah, I think, as you stated, we have additional information that we didn't have at the time when we were doing, or the committee at the time was doing the review, the annual review. So I think it just kind of behooves to review the additional information and the original recommendations. If I recall, there were a couple recommendations made in that report as well.
I'm seeing head nods in the room. Does anyone who's online, disagree with, the general move to go forward with the quality systems subcommittee looking to draft an amended 2024 report? Or excuse me, a supplemental. I keep saying amended, supplemental.
No hands and thumbs.
Amendments?
All right, then moving on, housekeeping items.
I don't have any other than just again, a reminder, next meeting will be, in Chicago at the Forensic Science Center. One net training. I think that's all.
All right. So now we open it up to public comment. Any member of the public that would like to speak? There's more than one we can shuffle, but, Mr. McMahon, would you like to ask your question again about ethics and training and development?
I think you're muted, Mr. McMahon. maybe he got called away, but just based on what he said earlier, it's the Training and Career Development Subcommittee that is housing, or for lack of a better word, this project to possibly develop, a training module related to ethics. So to answer your question specifically, look for the postings on the commission's website for meetings of the Training and Career Development Subcommittee. That would be, where those would be discussed within the commission.
And Karen, can I ask, is the goal for that ethics training is to be for any forensic scientist to be able to utilize?
Yeah, so we were trying to come up, originally we had a document that said different things that should be included in general forensics and ethics training. Now we're going to try to do a video series or a video of ethics, of an ethics training. So similar to what we've done with the fundamentals, now with the topic being ethics. So we do have a few people from each of our laboratories that have agreed to work on this collaboratively to come up with an ethics video for our forensic scientists statewide.
I think that's fantastic. Thank you. Is there anyone else on the line who has public comment? Please raise your hand or indicate in the chat pod.
That looks like Mr. Buzzola.
Yeah. Okay, Maya, can you go ahead?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
I just wanted to note for the commissioners that on June 23rd, Injustice Watch is hosting a webinar on pathways to strengthening forensic science oversight in Illinois that Amy has kindly agreed to be a part of. So she'll be one of the speakers at the event, and I will be sending out an email to all of you with the registration link. I saw that some of you all have already heard about the event and registered, so just wanted to promote the event to you all again and encourage everyone to join. I hope many of you will be able to attend. It should be an interesting conversation.
Maya, can I ask, will that be interactive or is it just going to be observational for the people watching?
No, there'll be a Q&A portion. So we'll be taking, it'll be a webinar, Zoom webinar format. So we'll be taking questions from the audience throughout the course of the event. And then at the end as well, there's time set aside for conversation and questions as well.
Thank you.
And it's 5:30 to 7 p.m. on June 23rd. And yeah, I'll send out the registration link again.
Okay, do we have anyone else have public comment? Pop your hand up or put your intent in the chat pod. Okay, I'm seeing none. So next meeting, as has previously been stated, will be in Chicago.
On Wednesday, September 9th at 10 a.m. It will also be available via WebEx.
Fantastic. And with that, can I get a motion for adjournment?
This is Jill Baker. I make a motion to adjourn.
Art Hill, second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Bye.
Thank you all for your time today. Much appreciated.
Thank you.
Thank you.